Last month, my girlfriend Vanessa gave me an ultimatum right there in our living room. She stood there, arms crossed with a look of absolute conviction. My dog, Buster, a 7-year-old golden retriever I've had since he was a pup, was asleep at my feet. He must have sensed the tension because he let out a little sigh in his sleep. "I can't do this anymore, Mark," she said, her voice sharp. "I'm sneezing constantly. My eyes itch, and his hair is everywhere. It's disgusting." She pointed dramatically at the sleeping dog. "You have to sell him. I'm allergic. It's me or him." Here's the thing about that allergy. It was new. For the first year and a half we were together, there wasn't a single sneeze. She adored Buster. Or at least she acted like she did. The walks in the park, the Instagram selfies, the couch cuddles, all perfect. Then her sister Megan moved back to town 6 months ago. Megan's the type who believes animals belong on farms, not in city apartments. And suddenly, after every sister's night, Vanessa's allergy would flare up. A sniffle here, a complaint about dog hair there. It started small but quickly became this giant, unsolvable problem that was supposedly ruining her life that I knew it wasn't about allergies. It was about control, about Megan whispering in her ear that a serious, sophisticated couple doesn't live with a big, shedding dog in a 2-bedroom apartment. I'd had Buster for years before I even met Vanessa. He'd been with me through a layoff, a breakup, and my dad's death. He wasn't just a pet, he was family. Selling him would be like selling a younger brother that I looked from her furious face down to Buster, twitching in his sleep, probably chasing squirrels in his dreams. I knew arguing was a trap. If I fought her, I'd be the insensitive boyfriend who didn't care about her health. If I refused, I'd be the guy who chose a dog over her. She'd built the perfect scenario, one where she was the victim no matter what. So, I changed tactics. I stood, walked over, put my hands on her shoulders, and looked her in the eye with all the fake sincerity I could muster. "You're right. I'm so sorry I let it get this bad. You're my priority." The effect was immediate. The anger melted into relief, then triumph. She hugged me tightly. "Oh, thank you, baby. I knew you'd understand. It's for the best, you'll see. We can finally have a clean, adult apartment." I hugged her back, patting her shoulder while staring over it at Buster. An ice-cold plan was already forming. My priority wasn't her. It was the loyal, loving creature who'd never let me down. And I was about to give him the life he deserved. The next morning, while she was at yoga, I made my first call, not to a shelter, but to a realtor named Phil who'd helped a friend sell last year. "I want to list my apartment for sale, immediately." Phil paused. "Everything okay, man? Thought you loved that place. Just time for a change," I said. "Need to move fast." The apartment was mine. I'd bought it years before Vanessa. She'd moved in a year ago. She wasn't on the deed or the mortgage, just paid half the utilities and groceries. Legally, she was a tenant without a lease. Complicated, but not impossible. Step 1 in solving the dog problem was selling the place she thought we were building a future in. While Phil prepared the listing, I made my next move. I opened my laptop and started searching for houses in the suburbs, about 40 minutes outside the city. My only filter, a huge backyard. 2 hours later, I had 3 promising listings and a pulse of anger mixed with excitement. When Vanessa got home, I was ready for phase 2. "I've been thinking about everything," I began, sounding thoughtful. "And since you're my priority, I'm making some big changes." I called a realtor. "I'm selling the apartment." Her eyes went wide. "You're what? Why? You love this place. We love this place." "I know," I said, resting my hand on her knee. "But it's too big for us without Buster. It'll just be a constant reminder. Plus, the fees are high. If we sell now, we can get something smaller, newer, a clean slate for us." I could almost hear the wheels turning. She didn't love the idea, but a fresh start in a clean, adult apartment was exactly her language. "Okay," she said slowly. "If it helps, okay. What about Buster? Have you found him a home?" "I'm working on it," I lied smoothly. "I want to find the perfect place for him. It'll take some time." That bought me time and sympathy. 2 days later, the for sale sign went up. That evening, Megan called. I saw her name and let it go to voicemail. Her message dripped with fake sweetness. "Mark, hi. It's Megan. Vanessa told me about the apartment. I just think it's so brave of you to make that sacrifice for her. I know how much you love that mangy dog, but Vanessa's health has to come first. You're finally doing the right thing. The condescension was so thick, I could almost feel it through the phone that I saved that voicemail. Over the next 2 weeks, our lives turned into a circus of real estate showings. We had to keep the apartment spotless, and I had to board Buster at a friend's place every time Phil brought a potential buyer over. Vanessa was a saint through it all, or at least she played the part well. She'd smile and tell buyers how much she loved the apartment, but that we were downsizing. Meanwhile, I was quietly visiting the houses I'd bookmarked online. The third one I saw was perfect, a modest 3-bedroom with a massive fenced yard and a towering oak tree. I could already picture Buster tearing across the grass, free and happy that I made an offer that same day, using my personal savings for the down payment. Money Vanessa didn't even know existed. The offer was accepted the next morning. Just like that, I was the owner of a new home she had no idea about. Next came the financial setup. I told Vanessa that, to make the move simpler, we should close our joint checking account and handle expenses separately until we found our new place. I framed it as a way to keep things organized during the sale. Once the apartment sells, I told her, we'll have a big chunk of money to start fresh. Then we can open a new joint account. She agreed instantly. She was so focused on the fantasy of a dog-free life that she didn't question a thing. She'd already started online shopping for furniture for our fresh start. Tiny, sterile-looking condos with strict no-pet policies. She even made a shared photo album of her favorite listings. Every time she showed me one, I'd nod and say, "Looks great, honey. Very clean." The first real crack in her dream appeared about a week before the closing date. We were having dinner with her parents. Her mother was gushing about how proud she was of me for putting Vanessa first. Her dad, usually the quiet observer, gave me a look, not admiration, but pity. Then Megan decided to twist the knife. "So," she asked, smirking, "have you found a new home for Buster yet? I have a friend who lives on a farm. I'm sure they could use a good guard dog." The idea of my goofy, people-loving retriever living as a guard dog on some random farm made my blood run cold. But I kept my composure. "I'm still interviewing potential families," I said evenly. "I want to make sure he goes to the right home." Vanessa jumped in immediately. "Mark, you're dragging this out. It's like you don't want to let him go. Megan's idea is perfect. Just get it over with." For the first time, my calm facade almost cracked. Hearing her talk about Buster that way, after all her fake affection, was infuriating. "I'll handle it," I said firmly, and that ended the conversation. But that dinner sealed it for me. There wouldn't just be consequences for Vanessa. Megan had earned herself a front-row seat. The open house was set for the final Sunday before the sale closed. Phil printed glossy flyers with photos, the price, and all the standard info. But at the bottom, in tiny print, was his favorite marketing line. "Seller is highly motivated and has already secured their next home at 125 Oakwood Lane." I spotted the flyer on the kitchen counter Saturday morning. I knew it was only a matter of time. That afternoon, I started moving my personal things, clothes, books, computer, to the new house. I took Buster with me. The moment I let him into the backyard, he bolted, running wild, rolling in the grass like he'd been waiting his whole life for it. Watching him, I knew I'd made the right choice. That night, I slept on an air mattress on the floor with Buster curled up beside me. It was the most peaceful sleep I'd had in months. The next morning, the morning of the open house, my phone exploded with notifications. A flood of frantic texts from Vanessa. "What is 125 Oakwood Lane?" I looked it up. "It's a house, Mark, with a huge backyard. What did you do?" Then a call from an unknown number. I answered. It was Megan, screaming, "You psychopath! What have you done? Vanessa's a wreck. You bought a house without her? For that stupid dog." I stayed silent and let her rant. In the background, I could hear Vanessa sobbing hysterically. "He tricked me. He lied to me." When Megan finally ran out of steam, I spoke calmly. "The open house starts in an hour. I'd appreciate it if you and Vanessa packed up her things before the first buyers arrive. I've left boxes in the living room." "We're coming over there," she shrieked. "To your new house? You can't just kick her out." "Actually, I can," I said evenly. "Her name isn't on the deed to the old place, and definitely not on the new one. The apartment's being sold. She'll need to find somewhere else to stay." They showed up 20 minutes later, just as I was leaving with the last of my stuff. It was even more chaotic than I'd imagined. Phil was setting up his sign when they pulled up, tires screeching. Vanessa jumped out, face blotchy and tear-streaked, trying to block me from getting into my own car. Megan stormed straight up to Phil, shouting in his face, "How could you be part of this? You're helping him with his sick little plan." Vanessa whispered, her voice trembling as a nice-looking couple who were early for the showing watched from the sidewalk. "You told me I was your priority." "I did," I replied, steady and loud enough for the onlookers to hear. "And I prioritized you. I prioritized getting you out of my life, and out of Buster's. It was the most important thing I had to do." I looked at Megan, who was still yelling at my poor realtor. "And you," I added, "should really learn to stay out of other people's relationships." Then I got in my car and drove away, leaving them standing on the sidewalk as the first family of prospective buyers walked up the path for the open house. Phil called an hour later. He said they'd made such a scene that he'd had to threaten to call the police for trespassing before they finally left. Then he added that the story of the crazy ex and her sister actually made the buyers more sympathetic toward me, and he'd received 2 offers over asking price that I told him to take the highest one. The aftermath was a predictable storm of entitlement. Vanessa and Megan immediately launched a smear campaign on social media, vague posts about being betrayed by a monster and how I had tricked a sick, allergic woman into homelessness. They used old, flattering photos of me and Vanessa, painting this picture of a perfect relationship I had supposedly destroyed, but a few mutual friends took her side and sent me angry messages. I didn't engage. Instead, I made one single post of my own, a picture of Buster running through his new backyard, tail high and eyes bright. The caption was simple: "Keeping my real priorities safe and happy. Some things aren't for sale." Then I attached an audio file, the voicemail Megan had left me, the one dripping with fake sympathy as she praised me for doing the right thing by getting rid of my mangy dog. The contrast between her condescending tone in that message and their new victim narrative was impossible to ignore. That post did exactly what I wanted it to. The friends who'd been on the fence went quiet. A few even messaged to apologize, saying they hadn't known the full story. The social media war ended before it really began. Facts, it turns out, are stubborn things. The next escalation came from their parents. Vanessa's mother called me in tears, begging me to do the right thing. To take Vanessa back, or at least give her half the proceeds from the apartment sale, but I calmly explained that Vanessa had contributed nothing to the down payment or the mortgage, and that legally the apartment and the money were mine. I added, "If Vanessa needs a place to live, maybe she can move back home." There was a stunned silence, followed by a dial tone. Vanessa did end up moving in with Megan, into her tiny one-bedroom apartment. From what I heard later, it was a disaster. 2 high-maintenance sisters in one cramped space. Megan quickly discovered that Vanessa wasn't exactly an easy roommate. Her pristine adult apartment soon filled with Vanessa's clutter, and Megan wasn't shy about telling people how miserable she was. The final desperate move came a few weeks later. I was served with a legal letter, a demand for $50,000 for emotional distress, and Vanessa's so-called financial investment in the domestic partnership. It was full of legal-sounding nonsense clearly written by Megan after one too many courtroom dramas. They were hoping the threat would scare me into paying them off that I hired a lawyer, a sharp, no-nonsense woman named Sarah. She laughed out loud when she read the letter. Together, we drafted a simple, devastating response that we included a copy of the apartment deed showing I was the sole owner, bank statements proving I paid 100% of the mortgage, a note clarifying that Vanessa's contributions were limited to shared utilities, making her, legally, a month-to-month tenant. Then we added a counter-threat. The false claims and social media posts constituted defamation. If they pursued the matter, we'd countersue for damages and legal fees. And for the finishing touch, we attached a transcript of Megan's voicemail, her own words encouraging Vanessa to get rid of my dog. We never heard from their lawyer again. The threat stopped. The posts disappeared. Silence. Last I heard, Vanessa was still living with Megan, and they were constantly fighting. Vanessa had to pick up a second job just to afford her share of the rent. Megan was reportedly complaining to anyone who would listen that Vanessa had ruined her life. The perfect, sophisticated sisterly alliance had collapsed under the weight of reality.